Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today we're talking about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I've been out of the Super Smash scene for many years now. Like most of you gamers out there, I imagine that you picked up Super Smash Ultimate when it was new and shiny and you loved it and you played the heck out of it, and then the playtime has dropped significantly throughout the years. That was the same case for me. I stopped playing seriously around the time when Joker was released as a DLC character, and so that kind of gives you some information as to like how long I've been away from like the more serious Super Smash scene. Now, the cool thing about Super Smash Brothers is it can work both as like a super serious fighting game with tournaments and frame rates and all that stuff, but it also works really well as like a super casual party family friendly type of game, just depending on like the settings and how sweaty the players are. And so I have played this game on and off very casually, you know, like all the items on, hanging out with my nieces and nephews as we just play random characters. Now, I know that some of you guys hate when I provide personal context during these casual reviews. However, I'm going to do the exact opposite and do so now. I have a younger brother, and while we both are gamers, I would say, we are very different types of gamers. For one, he decided to go to med school, and so he's not playing a new game every week. He has very limited amount of gaming time, but when he does, he's very much a master one single type of game for as long as it takes. That type of person that if he finds a game that he loves, he 100% completes it and just unlocks every single aspect about it. I remember for like Majora's Mask, I lent him that game and he went out and collected like all the masks, everything. And so Super Smash is, I think, for his words, his favorite video game, and whenever he does get some limited time of gaming in between studying for med school, he is playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And so my goal with this casual review is I wanted to get a little more serious. I wanted to kind of go back to my Super Smash roots, and I wanted to get to the level where I was able to play a little more professionally. And so normally when I do play Super Smash, I just play on random because I want to experience as many different characters as possible, but I decided that if I was going to try and give my brother a run for his money, I needed to pick a main character. A huge thing about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, especially when you include the DLC characters, is the vast array of playable characters. And so there is someone out there for everybody. Even if you're not a main gamer, everybody knows the Mario characters. So you can just pick up Mario or maybe Kirby, right? But then you have the deeper cuts like the Fire Emblem characters or Xenoblade Chronicles. And so just the vast array of not even like first-party Nintendo characters, but you got like Steve from Minecraft, you have Cloud and Sephiroth from Final Fantasy, and it's just amazing what wide variety this game provides, especially when you add the DLC characters. And so I did buy the DLC pack, so I have all the DLC characters. And so who do you think I end up choosing? Well, you probably already know because you're watching game footage right now, but of course I picked Sora. Like, Sora's going to be my main, I decided, because I'm not going to consume every single Kingdom Hearts media without maining Sora. You thought I was done talking about Kingdom Hearts? I technically am, but I'm not done talking about Sora, dang it. And so now that I have my main character picked that I'm going to really try and get good with, then I needed to go into my training strategy. But I also wanted to kind of experience the more single player aspect of this game. And so first what I decided to do is I would jump into the adventure mode. This is like the single player campaign in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And while in my opinion it does not hold a candle to the Super Smash Brawl Subspace Emissary campaign, and I'll talk about that another day, it still is quite the beefy single player campaign. There's a lot here to keep you engaged, especially if you consider yourself a gamer, because there are references up the wazoo here. Essentially how the plot goes, it's a very simple plot. Like I said, it's very different than Subspace Emissary with tons of cutscenes, but in this one there's this giant illuminating heavenly body named Gleam, and all the cast of Super Smash has come to take on Galeem. Now, Galeem has this vast army of these Master Hands, and if you're familiar with Super Smash lore, Master Hand is like the original big bad in the original Super Smash Brothers, and so the fact that Galeem is controlling this army of Master Hands is pretty intimidating. But we got our whole cast, and some of the characters are voice acted, and it is a very well done cinematic. It is very exciting seeing all of my favorite video game characters just lined up ready to take on this big bad, and suddenly all these beams of light shoot from Galeem and basically just annihilate all of our Super Smash characters, all the Nintendo characters and third-party characters. It's crazy powerful, and as much as they try to like battle them or outrun them or stand still and get evaporated that way, only one Nintendo character lives to survive and was not completely annihilated, and that is Kirby on the Warp Star, which I think is so fitting for this type of campaign. I liked playing as Kirby a lot. Kirby is, I would consider, one of my favorite characters in Super Smash Brothers. And so it was nice being able to start with Kirby. Unfortunately, Kirby's the only like living body in this existence now. All the other creatures, every other thing, not just the playable characters, but like all the Nintendo properties have been basically turned into these spirits, and these spirits are fighting for Galeem. So you find yourself controlling Kirby, and you see this overworld that you're kind of running along these pathways, and I love the design of the overworld. I love like this art style that you're traversing around. Now it's flat. You're not necessarily going to be going up a lot of different like ramps and things like that. For the most part, you're kind of just moving along this flat board, but it is very artistic, and it's all covered in this fog, and as you are traversing across this world, the fog slowly gets unveiled, and then you realize just how big this map is. What if you hate playing as Kirby and you really want to play as your main character, Link, let's say? You have to go find Link's spirit, battle it, and basically like release it into existence again. And so this was a unique, cool way to kind of like get that feeling of unlocking new characters, especially for a roster as big as this. You are always getting rewarded like, oh cool, now I can play as Fox McCloud or Samus. That's awesome. But I could also see this being quite troublesome for a person, let's say, who mains Bayonetta and loves playing as Bayonetta. The problem is you're not going to be able to unlock the Bayonetta spirit until way later into the game. And this is a long single-player campaign. Like, it took me more than 20 hours to play through all of the different spirits, or at least most of them. And so you're basically just like trying to wait until you can finally encounter Bayonetta, then you can finally play as Bayonetta, and the single player campaign is almost done. So I could see it being kind of frustrating that way. I can't help but wonder if it would have been better if there was some way to just kind of like randomize the unlockable spirits that are nearby, like maybe spend a certain amount of currency to do so, just to kind of increase your odds of unlocking your main earlier in the campaign. I did mention earlier that I wanted to get really good with playing as Sora, and so regarding how they handle all the DLC characters in this adventure mode, basically like once you unlock 10 other spirits, like playable characters, then you just get access to all the DLC characters for free. And so it didn't take me too long to unlock Sora, and so I swapped over from Kirby to Sora once he was unlocked, and I tried to get good with him. What about like all the spirits? I mentioned there's like tons of spirits, hundreds of spirits, and they're not all going to be playable characters. And so Nintendo did this really interesting thing where they kind of inflected like 2 or 3 personality traits about this random Nintendo character in a playable character. So for instance, if you encounter yellow Pikmin spirits, well, what are yellow Pikmin known for? They're plentiful, they're small, they're kind of squishy, and they have like electrical capabilities. And so in order to fight your yellow Pikmin spirit, you're just essentially fighting like 8 different Pichus, like weak Pichus, and so it kind of like reflects the yellow Pikmin that way. And once you do defeat the yellow Pikmin spirit, then you can then equip the yellow Pikmin spirit, and that might, I don't know, boost your electrical magic capabilities. And so there's a decent amount of RPG mechanics here where you can equip spirits that you've unlocked to provide passive bonuses to your character, which I think is really cool. And it's always exciting when you encounter a spirit from a character in a game that you really love. There's a decent amount of like Xenoblade representation here. Obviously, there is going to be a ton of Pokemon spirits because like the roster of Pokemon is endless, and so that's going to give you a lot of possibilities. But there are some pretty deep cuts. Like you got some Earthbound representation, Game & Watch representation, like pretty much like any type of character that is playable in Super Smash, there's going to be a decent amount of spirits also representing that character's game, where they came from. And it was exciting when I did recognize spirits, but it was also kind of deflating when I'm just like, dude, I have no idea what game this spirit is from. And so I do feel like I was missing out on some of the references based on like what kind of personality traits the fight has to it. I feel like there's like hardly any way anybody's going to get all the spirits references. You have to be playing a ton of games in order to remember all of those and pick up on all of those references. The spirits themselves, there are certain spirits that you can feed snacks to and battle with in order to level them up, and that increases their stats. And by stats, I mean like their defense and their attack capabilities. But there's also like a triangle weakness wheel here, where red spirits are good against your green spirits are good against your blue spirits, blue is good against red. And so if the enemy spirit that you're fighting is like a blue spirit, then you're probably going to want to equip a green spirit. Now there's a lot of stage hazards with these spirits as well. So let's say the yellow Pikmin example again, the floor might be electrified. And if you want to work around that, you can kind of like try to avoid the electrified floor as much as possible. Or there are spirits that kind of like negate that effect if you just don't want to deal with those annoying stage hazards. So if you have the correct corresponding spirit, it just kind of helps offset those hazards that are more annoying. Like sometimes the controls flip for the stage, and so left is right, right is left. You can cancel that out, or like sometimes the stage is covered in like a poisonous fog and it slowly does damage, and there's a spirit that instead of poison doing damage, it slowly heals you. And so it is satisfying having that corresponding spirit. And these spirits also help with like navigating the map, where like if you come across a broken bridge, then if you have a spirit that is known for building things, they can repair that bridge for you. Or let's say I encountered a pathway that goes across the ocean. If I have the Lapras spirit, then I can ride Lapras to the next island. And the map itself is very referential. Like you'll go to a Splatoon land, or an F-Zero land, or a Legend of Zelda land, and it was always exciting like understanding the references, and it was interesting to see how they like design these maps on a two-dimensional plane, but it still feels like it's representative of the game. One that really stands out to me is like this Castlevania area, where they kind of make it look like you're like climbing ladders and ramps like you would in a traditional Castlevania gameplay, but you're like gathering up these cannonballs to launch in cannons to destroy obstacles and things. And so this game is just chock full of gaming references. It's almost just like a love letter to gaming as a whole. As you can imagine, it is a huge map that you are navigating, and without giving away like too many spoilers, once you do reach the end, a second map gets unveiled, and you're like, holy cow, there's still even more to this campaign. And then you beat all of the second map, and then there's a third map that you have to play through. And so I did try to unlock all of the spirits, but my end save file said I only unlocked 99% of the spirits, and it took me like 22 hours to beat. Unfortunately, there's not like, as far as I can tell, there's not like an easy way to like see on the map where the spirits are that I have somehow missed, which is frustrating, but I'll settle for a 99% completion, I guess. Some of these spirits are very, very frustrating and very, very gimmicky. Like they have super armor and they're giant and they do a ton of damage to you, and so no matter how how many times I would try with just plain old Sora trying to shield and dodge. Some of these spirits are just frustratingly resilient to any kind of damage and just are like powerhouses and in terms of damage to you. And so, you know, sometimes I would have to resort to cheaper tactics, like you do the whole pick Kirby, go up above enemies and use your down special, turn into a rock and drop on them, rinse and repeat until the enemies die. Sometimes that Kirby tactic doesn't even work though. So like sometimes I did have to go onto YouTube and like, how the heck do I beat this spirit that just takes up the whole stage and destroys me in 2 hits? And sometimes you have to get a little tricky with it, like you have to use this certain items that just launch the enemy off the stage, and those can be pretty frustrating. As far as like there's like actual bosses in this game as well, like you'll fight Dracula from Castlevania or the big dragon from Monster Hunter. Shoot, I can't remember the Rathalos. You'll fight Rathalos from Monster Hunter, and these boss fights aren't nearly as frustrating to fight against as these other gimmicky spirits are. I gotta say, the end of the game though, you kind of do like a boss rush kind of thing, which is really exciting. It's playing this epic music and you feel like your journey has really come to this final gauntlet, which is very exciting. I did mention the DLC characters, and this is completely wishful thinking, but I was thinking the whole time that it would have been cool if once the DLC characters got introduced, their characters were more implemented in this single player campaign. For instance, like Rex Spirit from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they kind of give him, I want to say it's like Lucina or something, to kind of represent Pyra and Mithra as his blade. And so like now that Pyra and Mithra are actually playable characters in the game, I think it would have been cool for them to like go back and re-change how some of the spirits are represented with the DLC characters. I do wish that maybe they like got some more representation in like the actual map. Like how cool would it be to be playing through like a Final Fantasy themed area, or like even a Kingdom Hearts themed area? But these DLC characters do get their own unique spirit battles. It's just not within the single player campaign. They're kind of in a more separate menu where it's like just the battle. And so there is a way for me to go and get like the Roxas spirit if I wanted to do that. I just wish this DLC content was more like implemented in the actual adventure mode after the fact that they were introduced into the game. I don't know, who knows, maybe for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 2 or something. I also do wish that this adventure mode included maybe like a little more of a story. For the most part, like you're going to get 1 or 2 cinematics at the beginning and the end. And so it's definitely not Subspace Emissary. I know I keep saying that, but I wish that it was. But I guess that's not like what it was trying to be. But enough about the adventure mode, the single player campaign. Let's talk about the actual gameplay here. Like I mentioned, it's kind of seen as a couple different genres. The professional fighting scene might call it a platforming fighter game. The casual scene might see this more as like a party fighting game, I guess. And so there is definitely like some more platforming involved than something like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. There is like a setting where you have like an HP pool and every hit takes away some of your HP, but the standard way of playing this game is you actually have like a percentage of damage that you've taken, and the more damage you have, the easier it is to get launched into the air or off the stage. And there are like there's this border around the stage, and if you leave the border, then you lose a life, or stock is the professional terminology. And so the pros are going to play with no stage hazards. These are things like lava that slowly raises or lowers, no items. These add a level of chaotic randomness as well. It's just, usually it's like 2 or 3 stocks, no stage hazards, maybe like 2 or 3 platforms, and you're basically relying solely on your skill. And so there were a lot of times when I was playing through the adventure mode that I kind of wish that I could turn off stage hazards and items. This would drastically reduce the amount of references that you got, but it also would mean that I'm relying more on my skill rather than relying on the chaotic randomness of stage hazards and items. I did also kind of worry that playing through this adventure mode would give me some bad habits, playing against just a bunch of CPUs with with items and stage hazards. We'll get into that later. Now, every character is going to play pretty differently unless they are like clone characters of each other, but typically what you're going to want to do is whack enemies with your standard attacks. This is done with your A button. And Sora in particular, he's all about that 1, 2, 3 hit combo that he's pretty known for in Kingdom Hearts. Now, obviously, in all the Kingdom Hearts, he gets a lot more combos than that, but I do feel like his character in Super Smash Bros. Is more representative of his Kingdom Hearts 1 scene. Typically, like what I was trying to do as Sora is I was trying to rack up as many of those 3-hit combos as possible, and you can do the 3-hit combos in the air or on the ground, but just as many as you can rack up in order to get that damage percentage up. Every character also has a variety of special moves as well. These are done with the B button, and so Sora would kind of like rotate. His neutral special is rotating between Firaga, Thundaga, and Blizzaga. And I'm going to push back a little bit on this as a Kingdom Hearts fan. Like, this is not Firaga, this is not Thundaga. It's Fyra and Thundera at best, you know? Like, they are weaker spells. I've seen a really powerful Firaga, and this is not it. But it is kind of nice as a, kind of like, I'm keeping my distance, but I'm poking you with spells like fire, and the Thundaga is a really powerful spell at hitting enemies that are like trying to get onto the ledge. He also has his famous Sonic Dash that you get from beating Cloud in Hercules World. You can either like choose the 3 directions that he dashes towards, or you can like lock on to an enemy and try and dash towards them. It's pretty easy to block if you have your shield up before I hit you, but if you don't, then it's pretty easy to rack up that another 3-hit combo on you. This Sonic ability is also really good for helping Sora get back on the stage. Even Kirby doesn't have the recovery that Sora has. Like, I am hardly ever worried about falling off the stage because every character has an up special that helps them like kind of get some elevation to get back onto the stage. And so Sora has that where he kind of twirls up, but then he can use his Sonic ability in order to get even higher velocity. And so it was, as if I was a better player, I think I would have been a lot better at like kind of edge guarding and keeping the enemy from getting back onto the platform because Sora has those capabilities. I'm not though, and to be honest, most of the time when I would try to edge guard, I ended up killing myself. It still was really fun to try an edge guard though, because Sora's down attack, he kind of does this swirl and he launches himself downward, and if I was high enough, I was able to do that to enemies who were trying to get onto the platform, and I was able to recover, but you know, it happens maybe a fifth of the time where I down attack, and I launch myself straight down into the ground and am not able to recover. So that's kind of like how I would handle Sora. He also has a counter, which I always forgot to do, and I feel like anytime I did nail the counter and I did land it when it actually like hit and connect with the enemy, they were able to avoid it. So that's how I would play him. I don't know if he's like a top tier character or a bottom tier character. I didn't really care about that. I more cared about being able to play as Sora more, which probably wasn't the strat, especially if I was trying to go head to head with my brother. I talked about how this game is like a total love letter to gaming as a whole, and it is representative in stages and spirits and music and items, and if you really want to dive into this game to get the full representation, then the pro scene's not it. It's a lot more fun, I think, to play as like a in the party mode, and it was just kind of fun to explore the vaults and try to unlock different challenges. These are like achievements that you can unlock, and just like play through the music, and you can even unlock new music through the adventure mode. And there's even more representation in like the Mii customization, because there's 3 different like Mii characters, and if you don't know, Mii's are like your avatar on Nintendo platforms, and you can kind of like make your own Mii avatar character, and you can equip him with like different outfits. You can give him like Cappy from Mario Odyssey, or like you can unlock new Mii equipment either through paid or by just like playing the game. And so you can kind of deck out your Mii to look like your favorite character. There's also like assist trophies where you can just straight up summon on Shovel Knight to come and help you fight. And playing against assist trophies is very frustrating because it feels like it basically feels like you're playing a 2v1, which is very frustrating. But when you have these assist trophies on your side, it feels like you're unstoppable and you can just sit back and relax while Shovel Knight does a ton of work on the enemy. But it is time to put all that casual party mentality, put all that away. It's time to get serious. And so I was lucky enough to be able to find a time that my brother wasn't busy studying for med school or hanging out with his wife, and so we were able to play a couple online sessions. I do wish that the online matchmaking was a little more intuitive, at least kind of for what we were trying to do. And so I was able to play a couple different rounds, all very serious, no items, no stage hazards, because there's no way that my brother would play with those features on. And so ideally, I think what we were trying to do is we created a room, and like the title said 2v2, and ideally we were trying to find two people to like team up against and play against. And it did happen sometimes where we were able to be on the same team and fight against other people, but I don't know if the online scene is kind of more dead and just left for professionals at this point. But it took a while in order to find like two other people, like real people to play against. And so more often than not, we were just playing like 1v1, or we were playing with like one other person and it was 1v1v1. Let me just say this. So all my training, my 22 hours of playing Adventure, I did kind of dabble in some other battle modes as well. Did it help me fight against my brother? Did I give him a run for his money? I guess maybe not really. Like for one, he obviously wasn't playing super seriously against me, and so he kind of did what I used to do when I played Super Smash and just played on random. And so a part of me did feel a little guilty, just like, this is my main character and you can play as random Peach while I'm just going to play Sora over and over again. And so I did kind of feel guilty about that, but really I shouldn't have, because it was like no matter what character random picked for him, I didn't do well. Well, how about this? We'll just play a montage and you can see for yourself. So yeah, I think I've gotten pretty good at this game. I'll be waiting for my Championship Pro invitation any day in the mail now, so I'll just be waiting. Come see me. Yeah, professional Sora player. I don't even know like the names of like any professional Super Smash players, but yeah, come at me, bro. In all honesty, it didn't really help, and I probably did pick up some bad habits playing adventure mode for so long against CPUs, when if I really wanted to get good, I should have just played against real players during that amount of time. But I wanted to experience the single player and actually like see it through to the end. And eventually I did kind of just stray away from playing as Sora, and I wanted to get in on the randomness of characters. I didn't want to, I guess, be seen as taking things super seriously either. And so I did have fun playing through the other characters as well. One of my silly picks, but actually one of the characters that I love playing as is King Dedede, just because he hits so hard and he's so goofy. I also like playing as Rob a lot, Kirby I mentioned earlier. A lot of the DLC characters, I kind of wish that I was able to, like when I was playing against random players online, I wish I was able to say like, hey, hold on, let me see how this character works, especially for like super gimmicky characters like Steve. Like I still have no idea how to play as Steve. And so while the majority of characters kind of play similar to each other, just with some slight differences, some of the DLC characters are really wonky. But yeah, for the most part, I was getting spiked on all the time, I was getting juggled in the air, and that's pretty much my experience playing online against other real players. I don't think my brother even broke a sweat, which is fine. It's fine. It's whatever. As far as the score goes, this is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like, the fact that this game was made with all these different characters and just like the gameplay is for everybody. Like they really managed to build a game that is both for professional players and casual players alike, and it's just got something for everybody. Like, it's such a magical gaming experience that to give Super Smash Bros. Ultimate anything less than a 5 out of 5 would be a travesty, in my opinion. Like, this is such a love letter to gaming, and I love playing it, whether it's just with nieces and nephews or when I'm being super sweaty trying to compete against my brother. Like, it's just an amazing experience. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, or should I say Super Smash Brothers? I guess it's way too late in the casual review to decide that, but anyway, let me know what you think about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!